Welcome to another episode of Tech Tips. This one is going to be on something that's kind of popular here recently. Why did my ball crack? A few things frustrate me more than somebody getting bent out of shape on social media because they had an equipment issue. It's either my ball split all the way around, but it was in a climate controlled room. I didn't do anything to it. Storm balls always crack. It's funny how we live in a time of unparalleled information at your fingertips, but also somehow in a time where people eat Tide Pods. The way that bowling balls are designed now inherently make them more fragile. It's the trade-off for reactive equipment. People rarely, if ever, had issues back in the rubber and urethane days. They were very hard to damage, but they didn't really do much for you either. Softer covers and three-piece balls with different materials and several different densities naturally make the balls easier to damage, but aside from the small percentage of manufacturing defects, all of which are covered by the manufacturers, by the way, who go further out of their way to fix the problem than they really should, that must be noted. The vast majority of blame for equipment failures either lies with you or your pro shop. I go through a lot of bowling balls. I have them everywhere, an extra room in the basement back here, climate controlled room, doesn't get very hot, very cold, but that's not where the problems stop. Thermal shock is definitely the easiest culprit to point your finger at, but there's several other factors that amount to virtual sabotage, though I'm sure unintentional. Now, question number one is, have you ever seen an undrilled ball crack? I'm sure you have, but it's very rare. The heaviest two parts of a three-piece bowling ball are the cover stock and the core. An undrilled ball can sit for years in one place with no problems because there are no stress points on the ball or no weak places on the cover for the crack to start from. Once a ball is drilled, though, if left to sit in one place for any length of time, the core will settle and a crack will start, usually at one of the finger holes, and then your ball is done. Naturally, I would point the blame in your direction for this. I have a basement full of Storm and Roto balls which are apparently guaranteed to crack or designed to crack at a certain age to drive equipment sales. That's a popular one. But quite a few of mine are a few years old and haven't been used in a while, however, are in just fine shape should I decide I want to use them. So why is that? Even if I don't use them, I go move around occasionally. I put them in different places, shift their position, turn them over. Most people leave balls in storage with the finger holes pointing up, and that's just begging for gravity to do its work, as the weakest point in the ball is now pointing straight up. So each side of the ball pulls in an opposite direction, and a crack in my mind is kind of inevitable if you do that. However, it's not terribly easy for a crack to start on a round hole. There has to be a weak point created most of the time by circular cracking around the hole or chipping, which weakens the holes quite a bit more than they would naturally be. Now, cracking and chipping around the finger holes is most of the time, not all the time, most of the time a pro shop error. The two biggest causes of these issues are not beveling the holes before installing grips and using too much glue while installing them. If you don't bevel the holes, the sharp edge won't spread the shock load well when it hits all the heavy-duty machinery in the back that's built to withstand heavy objects being thrown at it repeatedly. Now, as far as the glue is concerned, if you use too much glue, it gets in the pores of the ball around the fingers, and glue has different properties than the cover material. It doesn't expand and contract at the same rate. It can be like water getting inside concrete and freezing. You're going to have problems. So to recap, the vast majority of cracking or chipping is caused by thermal shock, gravity, lack of finger bevel, overuse of glue, all of which are not manufacturing problems or defects. Now, sometimes manufacturing defects happen and cause problems. Maybe the ball cured too quick, maybe there were contaminants, but the vast majority of the time, it's the consumer or the pro shop that's responsible or to blame. So don't jump on the ignorance bandwagon. Do a little detective work. Get in contact with your pro shop or the manufacturer. Most of the time, you'll likely get a replacement even if the warranty says it's not covered under certain conditions. Last but not least, huge disclaimer here. Just because I said these are most likely the causes doesn't mean that it's always absolutely 100% of the time because of these reasons. So I don't want you running into your pro shop accusing them of ruining your ball. Pro tip here, we don't like hearing stuff like that. Hey, so I saw this video on YouTube says you're doing it wrong. Feel free to ask questions or say you saw a video, ask them about it, or even just ask them to bevel, just make a request. Just ask them to bevel the holes a little bit before the grips go in. Actually makes it a little bit more comfortable too, by the way. And use as little glue as possible. I do one little dab on each side of the hole, and that I never have grips come out. But just like anything else, when you do something for a living, it's really rough to have somebody else that doesn't do it for a living or has no clue about what you do telling you how to do your job. So just keep these things in mind, but proceed with caution. Thanks for watching. For extra premium content, early access, behind-the-scenes looks, private Q&As, blogs, and more, join a passionate new type of bowling community at www.patreon.com/Luke Rosdahl.